Save the Semantics, episode 328. It is July 10th, 2025. My name is Myro. This is the podcast where I ramble on for a bit about some shit. Recording this on a Thursday afternoon/evening. Just wanted to kind of catch up on some basketball stuff. The NBA Summer League, at least like the Vegas portion of it has like started. They had done like the California Classic thing, which is what they called it. But I think Vegas is sort of like the main event, if you want to call it that. So there's some games going on right now, and there's some games going on later today and tomorrow, which I'm kind of excited to check out just to see if there's like anybody from the draft class that really pops off. I know like Cooper Flag is going to be playing pretty soon, so I'll probably check out some of that. But yeah, it's a lot of things to kind of look forward to, even outside and during the off season. So good stuff. There's basketball year round now. I mean, at least that I'm aware of now. I mean, you got like the WNBA. You got off season stuff. I'm not super familiar with like Euro League or other leagues or anything like that, but who knows? Maybe if I'm that much of a sicko, maybe I'll get into that over the summer as well, but we'll see. But yeah, it's been a bit of this week has been kind of weird. I did record a couple of days ago, but it's felt like kind of like a weirdly long week, I would say. Like today kind of feels like a Friday, even though it's not. I'm just kind of still in the headspace of like not, you know what I mean? I'm still not like fully back yet. And maybe it's just me saying that I don't want to be back yet in a lot of instances. But it's all right. It's all good. There's plenty of things to look forward to, even after being back. So, I talked about, last time how I was thinking about getting into some other games kind of amidst this Steam summer sale and, checking out kind of maybe games that are on sale and cheaper games and that kind of thing. And so far I've picked up 2 games that sort of piqued my interest. Not surprisingly, they're both rogue-like games. And there's another game that I saw recently that's also been kind of picking up a little bit of traction, called Insider Trading. And that I'll probably check out later today, because it looks like there's a demo for that available. So yeah, I'm like, yeah, of course, I'm going to try that. But the 2 games that I've been playing over this past week, one is Nine Kings, and then the other one is called Diceomancer. Both kind of different in their own, unique ways in terms of their gameplay and stuff. Obviously, the central concept of the roguelike, where you do runs, is still, very much present there. I think Diceomancer in particular kind of lends itself to more traditional roguelike games where there's like a set path, similar to like a Slay the Spire, Monster Train, all those other, card deck building kind of, roguelike games. But it has its own like unique twists and those kinds of things to where I think it might be interesting to kind of dive into that. Although I have heard of other games that are sort of similar to that have executed a little bit better. So I'm going to look into those and see if any of those kind of, I don't know if any of those sort of are interesting to me, because I have found, I had like kind of like an initial frustration with this game where, and this is kind of my fault too, where I sort of against the recommendation of the game of going through the tutorial, I just went head straight into the game, and that didn't really go that well. So, sometimes it is worth doing the tutorial, you know what I mean? Because I tend to kind of like doing things on the fly, learning things on the fly, in a lot of cases, but in this instance, it did not really work out well for me. So it's sometimes it's worth checking out the tutorial. But yeah, initially I think this one might take a little bit of time to Diceomancer might take a little bit of time to kind of get used to, because it is a bit slower there is far more kind of decision making that's involved. Like there are a lot more, there are a lot of actions that you can take like outside of playing the cards themselves. There's like this dice mechanic that has like a pretty big, you know, has some pretty big consequences in terms of how you decide to use it. So there's a bit more of kind of variability and decision making that kind of goes into it. So it's a lot more slower paced in comparison to some other roguelikes that I've played. Nine Kings, which I'll get into. But I can see it kind of, because I initially didn't like Slay the Spire either, right? And that was, a while ago at this point. But at first, I just wasn't a fan of it. I didn't really understand the hype. But now that it's been years down the line and hundreds of hours played on Slay the Spire, this might be kind of a similar thing where it's going to grow on me as I, continue to unlock different play styles, unlock different, relics and spells and cards and all that kind of stuff, where it really sort of opens up the gameplay for me. So I'm just gonna, I think this is one of those games where it's worth being patient and really kind of finding like the strategy, you know what I mean? I don't think it's always gonna click necessarily, but I last night I was dabbling with it a little bit more, and I started to kind of see, where this could be going, and ways that I could get better as like a player in subsequent runs. So I think it's headed in an interesting direction. It's different, but I do like it. And I'm interested in kind of trying to test it out a little bit more. The other game that I played, Nine Kings, this one was like kind of like an immediate hook for me. Right now it's sort of like in a beta alpha. I guess it's like a beta phase, right? Where it's not fully complete yet. The developers have even mentioned that there's some aspects of the game that are not fully realized yet, that there might be some glitches here and there. But this game immediately kind of hooked me. This is kind of the type of roguelike game that really gets to me, where there's just like this addictive nature. Rounds that go incredibly quickly. So essentially you're tasked with building up a kingdom by, assembling your troops, and your troops come in the form of cards and all that, and you place them on, essentially like a grid. So it's like a grid-based kind of like battle system, but the battles are like automatic, right? So it's pretty hands-off for the most part. Like there's not really a ton of action that's needed. It's really kind of this like simulation battle sort of thing, which I feel like it's a little bit akin to something like Unicorn Overlord, where there's not like, there's not like direct action that's taken. It's more about like what pieces you place where, and, what are the other units or other buildings you place, and how is that going to affect, what kind of effects are you giving your troops and that kind of thing, right? How does it all kind of fit together in a cohesive manner, similar to how like Unicorn Overlord did it with their sort of unit system. I know that's kind of a weird comparison because they're, in very different genres, but in terms of like the strategy kind of simulation tactics level, I think there are some similarities there. But I just really like this one. I think there's like a lot to really dig into and appreciate. I think that, maybe like after, who knows, like 10 plus hours of this, there might, you might kind of run out of some things to do, but it looks like there's going to be additional content, like other characters that you can unlock in the future. So I'll be kind of patiently waiting to see kind of what that looks like. But each run is like, it can be like 20 minutes or less. So the fact that these can go so quickly and so easily, you can easily kind of jump back into it, kind of lends itself to sort of that addictive nature of it, right? And I think kind of the aesthetics of like that bit-sized, animation and graphical style, and then just sort of like the a bit more mellow music, I would say. I think is very, I don't know, it just sort of gives this like an atmosphere, and like there's just like a level of addictiveness that I kind of can feel coming from it, right? Like I spent, when I initially got the game, like I spent like a lot of my time going into the night playing this, so you can kind of see how that can be, a pretty that can kind of like catch your attention. But yeah, playing with, usually not someone who likes to play with PC and mouse. Like it's just not my preferred play style. Like I do like to have, controllers, play with controller, but yeah, this is kind of like opened up to me. I don't know why I hadn't really considered this, because I think from my perspective, I think I may have sort of, like my PC, my laptop is pretty, it's kind of on the lower end. Like I got it for like fairly cheap. So I was worried that, for some of the other games that I've been thinking of playing that I have on my list, and other games that have sort of, caught my attention, like I've just sort of put them off because like I just, I was worried that my laptop wouldn't be able to handle it. But I am considering like the possibilities now of like what I'm kind of able to do, you know what I mean? Like I don't intend on ever getting like a gaming PC, at least not anytime soon, just because I just don't it's a little hard for me to justify it, like with the time and everything and the cost. But I do think that there are ways to kind of work around that with my current setup. I don't necessarily have to limit myself. And again, like indie games have really been sort of the next great thing for me outside of my typical, RPGs, right? And I think that, while my current laptop may not be able to handle the more high fidelity games and the high graphical capability games, that are run on, gaming PCs and on PlayStation 5 and Xbox, there are so many other games that I find myself enjoying, that I think can be played on a lower, not as much, it doesn't require as much from my hardware, right? So I don't know, I don't know why I never like I sort of maybe put it off, because I like to keep things simple, and I'm like, you know what, I'm just sort of like a console only gamer. I have my Switch, I'm satisfied with that. But it just sort of, this really just opens up to me, really trying out many other things out there for really affordable prices too. Like if you compare like Steam prices, like you can find games for free. You can find games for under like $4, especially at this time during like the Steam sale. And if you compare that to something like Switch, although Switch has like a decent number of like indie games, which I do own, it doesn't have the same library. There are many, many other games that are available on Steam and on PC that I just don't have, I just don't have access to on Switch, on the eShop. So, and on top of that, like there is, the prices can vary. Like you're not able to get like the same, you're not really able to get the same value on the Switch as you can on your PC, right? Also, the limitations of data usage too, right? Like Switch is just not able to store as much. So like if you have if you have a PC, you can store up just like a ton of games. So it's yeah, it's just different, right? So I I can kind of see, I understand people that are really, really into PC and have that as their preferred gaming style. I totally get that. And I can see that, right? I can see the vision. I think I've just been so accustomed to playing with a controller that it's sort of, I just haven't really delved into a ton of games. Like the only game that I've really played a ton of and beaten, not a ton, but a game that I've fully completed is Undertale, like way back in like high school. But that was like the only, like that's like the only game that I was able to run on my old MacBook from way back in the day. So yeah, I don't know. I think I just was maybe a little bit, you know, I don't know. I just had not really fully considered that. It's like, hey, maybe actually my laptop, while it isn't like the greatest piece of hardware, it can actually run some games. It can actually play games. I have noticed though, when I am playing, when I have played, it's running pretty loud. The fans are pretty loud. It gets pretty hot, even for, these indie games that don't require a ton, you know what I mean? So it's like, okay, there's definitely some limitations here. I probably won't be able to play like, Expedition 33 or anything like that anytime soon. So yeah, that's going to be a bit of a, there is a limitation there, but, yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. If I ever want to play like, one of those other games, then, yeah, then I'll find a way to get there. But I don't have this like strong desire to do so because of, I'm currently having fun with, these smaller games, and there's a lot to experience there. There was so much in the indie space that I have yet to delve into, and I'm really excited. I don't know, there's just kind of this feeling that I'm getting now, just really wanting to dabble with a bunch of stuff, and yeah, it's like cost effective for the most part. So I feel I'm feeling pretty good about that. Yeah, so just some of those things. I do want to talk about, who knows, maybe insider trading is not the only game that I pick up and try out. There's demos available, so I might just be, maybe I'll just be going ham on free demos and seeing if any of those kind of, get me into the game. I mean, that's kind of what I used to do when I had when I had my 3DS, is that I used to just like go and get demos of games and trying them out. Like Monster Hunter, I tried that demo out. I just kind of realized I was never a Monster Hunter fan at that point. I did play Monster Hunter Try on the Wii, and I just could not get into it. It's just that style of game is just not my cup of tea, but it's just like that's kind of like the thing, you know what I mean? It's like free, like a free game allows you to try something out, and there's just really no commitment to it, and that's really nice. So it's cool that that's kind of available, and I want to take advantage of that. Yeah, just a little quick little update. I want to talk, tomorrow I'll talk a little bit more about, some other games. Maybe tonight I'll be doing a little bit more gaming, and then also maybe some more summer league stuff. I want to talk about what I'm hoping to see with kind of the Warriors, because I do want to watch them. I wasn't able to like watch a ton as I mentioned before, but listen, basketball's kind of, there's basketball, so like why not get into it, and yeah, just give some of my impressions of these players. If anybody's going to be like a rotation player, like we do need pieces, like we actually need to be able to kind of find some players. Like if Al Horford is like, I don't know what that situation is. It seems pretty quiet on that front. But like we still need someone, we still need some pieces. So, maybe there's some players on Summer League that catch my eye. So yeah, I do want to talk about that either tomorrow or this weekend. So I'll kind of save that conversation. But yeah, I just wanted to do a quick catch up on gaming, because that's been sort of reinvigorated recently, and just wanted to get more into that. With just finding out, I don't know, did I just discover that Steam is a thing again? I've known it was a thing. I just didn't go back to it for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe I was just like, I was stubborn, and I was like, you know what? I just want to stick to one console. It's like, nah, it's fine. It's fine. There's a lot of other gaming opportunities out there. You know what I mean? So yeah, cool stuff. Yeah, I'll catch back up later tomorrow or this weekend. All right, recording this on Saturday, July 12th. Just wanted to do a quick catch up on some NBA Summer League. Whoa. Let's just get the Warriors stuff out of the way first. It's been it's been pretty poor basketball, I would say, from what I've seen so far.
Really no standout players. I know that a lot of people are kind of hinging on like Will Richards to be a potential pickup. He's looked good in moments, you know. I think he could be a decent contributor, but it is also a lot to ask from second round picks to be able to like, you know, do what sort of like what's expected of them immediately, you know what I mean? So I don't know, it's a little hard to really gauge and then also kind of extrapolate from what you've seen, and especially in like a summer league setting, which I think historically has shown that it's not really been a good a good pinpoint, a good reference point. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. You know, who knows? Maybe there could be someone that's like another undrafted player that we have no idea about who, you know, somehow kind of pops off in like the G League or something, and they're able to like contribute. Who knows though? Yeah, but for now it's been, yeah, it hasn't really been good basketball. Yesterday Warriors played against the Trailblazers. Honestly, I was more interested in Hansen Yang, the center drafted out of China for the Trailblazers. Like honestly, I was more like enamored in like watching him. I'm like, dude, what is he gonna be like? Is he like a Jokic light? I don't know, man. I don't know. But I did like what I was seeing from him, just like his passing ability and stuff. Like it already feels like he has a bit of like a cult following. Definitely like a following overseas, but you know, also kind of like a devoted following from, you know, Blazers fans and other fans alike. So that'll be interesting to keep my eye on, just like as like a, you know, like a bit of a side story. You know, like is he gonna get meaningful playing time with the Blazers, who I think are definitely trying to pivot to being a more competitive team going into this upcoming season, right? So is he going to be a part of that equation? Like, I don't know, man. Like, I think there was a lot of like criticism that was given towards that pick. I believe when the Blazers used, I think was what 16 in the first round to pick him. Like I think there was a lot of it was a lot of question marks regarding that decision. But you know, maybe they didn't see anybody from this upcoming draft as, you know, as anyone that could really be a necessary piece, you know what I mean? I don't know, like they don't have, like if they somehow were able to get, you know, get into like the top 5, maybe there was like kind of that franchise altering player. But outside of that, I think that there has been, you know, there's like a bit more of this like conceited effort to, concerted effort to, you know, move towards, kind of like what Houston did when they got like Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks, and then really try to become more competitive, right? And they've sort of like fully transcended that rebuild, and now they're like in a completely different place than they were a few years ago. And so I think that's kind of what the vision is for the Blazers going into this next season, right? You don't know for sure if they're going to be like a playoff team, but they can definitely be, they're gonna be a tough team. They're gonna be a tough team. I'm not, and especially with Drew Holiday, like that's, you know, he's still good. Like he definitely declined this past season, and he wasn't able to get to that same level as he had been able to, but he's still gonna be really good. And just his added presence, like they got just like a ton of like, you know, huge, like really, you know, highly skilled defenders. Dumani Kamara, you could probably put like Donovan Clingan on on that list as well. And now you got Drew Holiday, so it's just like defensive minded, I think, is probably the approach that they're going for. So they're going to be an interesting team to see, and I'm not like, I don't know if I'm like, especially, and their size too. They're a huge team, especially now, you know, getting like Hansen Yang. Is it Yang Hansen? I don't know which way you know, people have him saying Hansen Yang, so I'm just going to go with that. Um, but yeah, just like another 7-footer on their team. So they're just huge, you know what I mean? So yeah, I'm not looking forward to playing against them as if we're the Warriors, you know what I mean? Like they got youth and athleticism and length. Like those are all things that the Warriors suffer against, right? So yeah, I don't know. It's going to be a tough one, I would say. It's very early looking on, but yeah, just sort of projecting it a little bit. I think it's going to be a bit of it's something to keep an eye out on. Other summer league stuff, I've been just sort of like hopping in and out of some things. Like Cooper Flag did have a really good game today, sort of like a bounce back, right, which I think was expected. Dylan R. Harper also had a good game. I didn't really watch like a ton of that, but I watched some of the highlights, and he looks to be like a pretty skilled. He was giving like a little bit of like, I don't know, like just as a glance, maybe it's because of the hair, but a little bit of like a Cade Cunningham, maybe not the same bulky size, but I don't know, just like his play style of like playing in the middle as like a bit of a larger point guard. I think that was kind of like the prototype that I was seeing there. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be, yeah, the Spurs, if things line up, feel like they're going to be able to kind of take a bit of a jump this next year, hoping that, Victor's health issue, the whole blood clot stuff is kind of cleared up. I think that, they're younger players. I think are probably going to be able to contribute to a higher level. I think there's still like a way, maybe they're still like a year or so, I think, away from being able to compete. I think a lot of people were like projecting them last year to get into the play-in, and I was like, I just don't. That's a lot to ask of Wembanyama. Like he was incredible, obviously his first year, and he had some incredible moments this year as well, this past season. But they're like you just kind of have like your vets with like Harrison Barnes and Chris Paul. I don't even is Chris Paul still on the team? I don't know. And then you got a bunch of younger players, and I think one more year they'll probably be better. And I think it was also expecting a lot from like someone like Stephon Castle to be able to contribute that early. So I think expectations were a bit too high for them. It comes with the fact that, how good of a player Wembanyama is, right? But I do think that I think there could have been a little bit more reservation about what the leap would look like. So so yeah, I don't know. I think I'm a little more hesitant to like jump on that. Like Wembanyama is going to be awesome, absolutely, but I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be like this. Like there's not like this same. It's not to the same level of, you do need to have like a star player, right? But I think the days of having someone, a LeBron type player being able to carry your team to the finals every year is no longer a thing. I mean, it also helps the fact that LeBron was in the East and all that. A lot of other factors go into that, but I think this expectation that your star player will be able to kind of will your team to the next level is not. I don't know. I think it's a little out of the question nowadays. And even if you look back, I mean, that's never been the case in a lot of instances, right? Like I can't even think of a team that has won the championship in recent memory that has had that kind of, like I guess maybe Giannis is probably the best example of like a dude that just like willed his team to a championship. But even then, like I think there were some really significant contributions from his other teammates, right? Like they were still a really good defensive team that year. And they had, two other, I mean, Chris Middleton was still a really good, like, player on both sides of the ball. Obviously, you had Drew Holiday, Brook Lopez. Like, you had players that had, had their sort of title attached with, their kind of defensive prowess. So I don't know. I think there's this sort of notion that a single player may be able to kind of, essentially rise your franchise in a certain way, but you still need to be able to surround him with the right pieces, right? So I think in the case of San Antonio, it feels like they're making the right decisions and bringing, other players that can, kind of contribute in a meaningful way. But they're still so young. I think they're still really young. And I don't know, maybe OKC sort of proved that youth can sometimes win championships, but your best player was in their prime with Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and the pieces that you surrounded him with were all incredibly complimentary. So I don't know. There's just so many things to consider in that discussion. So I don't know. I think it's worth sort of examining what constitutes a team being a part as like a contender, that kind of thing, right? You need to win games and everything like that. But yeah, I don't know. Youth is still kind of a bit of a factor. I think you could argue that maybe OKC winning is a bit of an outlier of sorts. And moving forward, they're still going to be like, they're going to be favored for sure moving forward going into this next year. But I think they are more so the exception versus the rule. So I don't know. I don't think like rookies, except maybe like Magic Johnson or something, has like really led or resulted in a team going to like the finals, or going, even being placed in, playoff contention in a lot of instances. So yeah, that's that. I think Summer League has been cool. It's been cool to watch some basketball, but I do think that there is like a certain level to it where it's just not the same, right? It's not the same as regular season basketball. Obviously playoff, even preseason, there's like a certain level to it, because like with the preseason, at least you have, the starters play some minutes. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's just kind of like it could be just kind of a bit of a crapshoot in terms of like what to expect and what you might see in terms of who contributes. There might be a player that pops off during Summer League who might get a chance in the league, but is just not the type of person that really is able to succeed. I mean, you look at someone like a Mac McClung, winning the dunk contest for 3 years in a row, right? Still has not gotten any meaningful NBA basketball play time from what I've gathered, right? Because his archetype of a player, someone who is sort of score first guard, is just not the type of player that can really win in this, current landscape. Like, he's just not, he's a bit undersized. He can't really defend. Like, that is just not the player. You just can't afford to have that kind of player in this NBA nowadays, right? If you're a smaller guard, you still you have to be able to like do some exceptional things. You know what I mean? So I think yeah, I don't know. It's just such a, and I think in Summer League, I have seen some examples of players, maybe some guards and stuff that pop off, but it's just like, I don't know, man. Like, are they actually going to be able to play and fit into a rotation? Like, it's a little hard to kind of envision if they're only, they can score at will in the Summer League, but it's just a completely different beast when playing against like actual NBA caliber players. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think it's going to be, yeah, it's an interesting kind of practice of looking at players that perform in Summer League, and just kind of if you're on the Warriors side of it, it's been a little hard to be like, I'd be like, yeah, that guy is going to be like, I've got nothing. I've got nothing from these Warriors so far, which has been, a little, it's pretty sobering. But like you can look at other team players, other teams, but ooh, it's like there's like a French dude, Baron J on the Wolves. He's like 7 foot, and he's had some moments here and there, and you're like, that's cool, man. It's cool that he could be he could be something. Another French dude on the Kings. I think his name was Reynaud, and he was pulled in the second, like in the second round. He's like he can shoot the ball and stuff and put the ball on the floor, and he looks to be like a pretty smart player. A little older, 22, but like, dude, that could have been why didn't we go for him? Why didn't we go for him? Instead we got Will Richards looks interesting. He looks like he could be something, but he gives kind of shades of like a, I don't know, like a Moody, maybe a taller Moody. And then the other dude, Tui, Alex Tui, I nothing for me so far. He hasn't shown, he hasn't given anything, honestly, unfortunately. So like it's just like, why is our team and our organization so allergic to drafting centers and anybody? Like, I know we got Quentin Post. I'm grateful that we have like one center, but it hurts when they showed kind of like the depth chart. I was just like, man, that looks rough, dude. That looks really rough, man. I just was like, seeing Draymond at the 5 is just like kind of like hurts me a little bit. Like, he can do it, but also it is a lot to put on his shoulders. Draymond and Jimmy at the 5 is so small. We made it work. We made it work in the first round, but it's so much to ask of them. And just with our roster construction, like, I've been saying this for a while. I just like, and then just look at the rest of the rest of like the landscape of who like the competition is. It's size everywhere. Dallas, Portland, Oklahoma City. I'm just, the Rockets. All of these teams have size, and they have backup size. Like, it is just, it's just not, I don't know. It's going to be tough. I have some faith because of what the Warriors were able to kind of pull off in the second half of the season with Jimmy, all that stuff. But we need a center. Like, maybe Quentin Post levels up, but even then we still need someone who can back up. I don't know why we drafted another player in like someone like Tui, who looks to be more of a project than someone who can be like established. Why did we not go for like a 23-year-old like center? You know what I mean? Like, I just take a swing. Someone who has played college ball for 4 years, or someone who's played overseas, like that Reynaud guy. Like, I don't know. I know maybe it's a lot to expect, because like, again, I'm maybe it's just like, maybe they're performing because it's just summer league. But listen, we've played G League players minutes in the playoffs. You know what I mean? And we just can't. It's just, I don't know. I'm feeling a little dissuaded, unfortunately. And I know it's a little bit of an overreaction, because it's like, I shouldn't have really expected too much going into this summer league. Like, who was even on the roster, right? But it is a little disheartening, the fact that there was really no significant young players to look forward to, you know what I mean? And it seems like the Kuminga situation is just like, there's no traction whatsoever. So he might just be back he might be back on the team, and it's just like, why do we? This is just, I don't know. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. Just looking over and reacting to kind of like this current situation. Like, I don't know. I'm not like, I'm obviously hopeful, and I've said this, and I would just keep saying this is kind of the last year. we still don't know if we're gonna get Horford or not. Horford is not gonna. He's not gonna like elevate this team. He's not. He's 39. Like he's still like solid and he's had moments, but he's 39. We're gonna be a team full of 40-year-olds, and I don't think that's conducive to success, unfortunately. So, yeah, I don't know. I've been kind of I'm overreacting, but it's also just the fact that I'm looking at what the season is going to look like. I think we'll be good. I think we'll have some moments, but I also am very acutely aware of this team's limitations. And I just don't like there is a need, there has been a need, and there is almost this refusal to address it. Listen, if we get Horford, okay, we got Horford. It's just like there's nobody else available, I guess. So I don't know. That's kind of where my head's at. It's been cool to watch basketball again, like I know it hasn't been that long, but it's been cool to watch some basketball. People are thinking like, oh, October is so long. It's really not that long. It's not that long. Time flies really quickly. Don't take the time you have for granted. It's going to come by really quickly. Next thing you know, it's going to be preseason, and then it's going to be the beginning of the season. So just enjoy the summer. Enjoy some time off. If you're someone like me who has like almost obsessively consumed NBA basketball for this past season, it's good to take a break. It is, like right now, I am watching some summer league stuff, but I'm not like, it's like, oh, I'm not like looking at everything. So yeah, it's fine. If you're someone that's also kind of in a similar position to me, who is kind of, sick in the head and watches bottom 500 teams play against each other in the Eastern Conference. I enjoy that. I enjoy seeing that crap. Like I enjoy watching, mid teams like the Bulls or I don't know. I think Raptors might be pretty decent this year. So, but I'll watch the Wizards. I'm kind of in that headspace. I'm like that. You know what I mean? So, but if you're in that kind of camp like me, take a break. It's cool. It's cool. Don't worry too much about it. Like basketball will be around the corner. I'll worry about just like the Warriors stuff when things come up. There's still time. There's still time. There's still plenty of time. Anyways, that's gonna do it for this episode. Thanks for listening. As always, this has been Save the Semantics. Signing off.